everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode here of The Ghost Furnace. I am Bond, and I'm joined as always with my cohort, Nick, Pennsylvania. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay.
Doing okay. Well, that's good. I am doing
Yeah.
very well here this evening. Excited to talk to you and talk to everyone out there. It's been a long, hot week here in the western part of the Commonwealth. Things are starting to cool back down, and I hope that is the case for everyone out there right now. Sorry, I looked like you were going to say something.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just sitting in an awkward place. I'm in my wingback chair, and so to use the mouse, I have to lean in.
Ooh,
So I was
yeah,
unmuting myself, and I hope you leave all of this in because
I
that's
will.
thrilling audio.
Right.
But no, it is finally cooling down from being in the upper 90s for quite a
hmm
few days to now being in the low 80s. It's been rather nice.
No, it's been great, and I'm hoping to get outside more. We have a few things planned over the next few months that we want to do that are outside.
If you can just
For
stop thunderstorming,
Yeah,
frankly.
really, that's the thing. It's like we're me and you are pretty hardy when it comes to like doing stuff when the weather isn't great, but like
Yes.
thunderstorms are something we just like don't mess with.
And it's
So
been like on the agenda
yeah,
every single day.
right. And even when you think it's sunny, just wait a little bit. Here comes the storm. But I guess that's just how it is in summer. So.
Yeah, no complaints. But something came up, and well, you know what? There's a couple news items we come to talk about, and
hmm
the first of all there's a little bit of an upset in the standings. I mean, right
Yeah.
now
hmm
everybody in the world is engaged. There is an international tournament going on in the world of sports, and that, of course, has to do with Denmark's dramatic fall from Denmark. As far as non-North American listeners, Denmark has fallen to 14th place.
Which is really surprising because Denmark, for us, as far as our international ranked listeners goes,
Yeah,
Denmark was in the top three for months and months and months.
they had a strong start to
Yeah,
the season, and
yeah,
now the underdog that has really taken up is Vietnam. So to
yes.
everybody in Vietnam who's listening, one, why? But thank you, because our Vietnam is eternally strong, as the
We,
anthem concludes.
exactly. No, and again, we're happy to have all of you out there listening to us. Please reach out and let us know. We would really love to hear from you. So,
And but the real meat and potatoes of today is, speaking of reaching out and letting us know, I had
mm-hmm,
reached out to you because there is one story that we started with
mm-hmm,
way back in the Dr. Pennsylvania days.
right.
I think it was our very first episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's going back to like 2010.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Unfortunately true.
Yes, been forever.
And this, of course, has to do with the lost Union gold. Now,
Yes.
I have long maintained, even before I knew of the current crop of treasure hunters that are earnestly seeking this,
Mm-hmm.
before the FBI dig, which occurred in the winter of 2018, I have
Mm-hmm.
long maintained that this is very clearly a myth, and I can point to a tale by Henry Shoemaker, which he had initially published in one and probably several of his newspapers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the newspaper's probably
And
cursed.
okay, to recap, because people that have listened to us at any length of time, we have done a couple episodes about this here because there have been updates, and we're going to talk about some updates that have come up. I guess
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of being swayed a little differently, but we'll get to that. The quick recap is this. The original claim that has changed according to the Popular Mechanics article you
Mm-hmm.
found from recently,
Mm-hmm.
which has altered the story a little bit, but the original story that was told and that the treasure hunters also claimed was that in 1863, a Lieutenant Castleton is shipping gold from Wheeling, West Virginia. They're tasked with getting it to the Philadelphia Mint. They have
Mm-hmm.
two wagons with false bottoms. They load up the gold because of encroaching Confederate troops into Pennsylvania. I don't know how they were able to figure that out quick enough. They end up taking a more northerly direction. The original story
Mm-hmm.
claimed it was because of Copperheads, those being Northerners sympathetic to the Southern cause.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. Calamity. They bury the gold. Blah, blah, blah. And the gold is missing to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Shoemaker had told the exact same story with the exact same wagons, the exact same false bottoms, the exact same
Mm-hmm.
number of wagons, the exact same calamity, the exact same amount of gold, but it
Mm-hmm.
was with Blackbeard, a supposed pirate, not Edward Teach, the historical figure, but some
Mm-hmm.
other Blackbeard. Now, the problem is this: there is no record, no historical record of a Lieutenant Castleton. There is
Mm-hmm.
no historical record of this gold being shipped. I heard a supposed historian say, well, of course there's no record because it would be an embarrassment to the Union. Well, I'm sorry. I've heard that exact same argument be made by people that, like young Earth creationists, that were still
Right.
trying to defend the presence, the supposed presence of slaves of Judea in Egypt. And he said, well, of course the Egyptians didn't record that all the Jewish slaves had escaped because it would be an embarrassment. No, absence of evidence is evidence of absence,
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly.
Right.
No. And again, we have okay. So here's what I'm gonna say. You remember the documentary Happy Days?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, in season 3, episode 3 of Happy Days, Fearless Fonzarelli is the title of the documentary, where Arthur Fonzarelli, okay,
Yeah.
jumps 14 garbage cans on his motorcycle. Do you remember that?
That's where the saying comes from.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not. It's not where the saying comes from. Season 3, Episode 3, Fearless Fonzarelli, Arthur Fonzarelli jumps 14 garbage cans on his motorcycle. That was September
Mm-hmm.
1975. Fast forward 2 years and 2 seasons to season 5, Episode 3, the conclusion of an exciting three-part Hollywood series
Mm-hmm.
in which Arthur Fonzarelli has to jump over a tiger shark. It
Mm-hmm.
is the same exact story. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same exact story. It's only the slightest change of variables. It boils down to Arthur Fonzarelli jumps over something propelled by a motor
It was.
vehicle. And one it's a speedboat, and another one it's his motorcycle. Okay, what we have here with the Blackbeard's treasure and with the Lost Union Gold is the exact same thing. There was a fictionalized document.
Mm-hmm.
People are believing it's real. They cannot connect the dots that these are two. One, Shoemaker's whole like credibility is highly in question. This has been another ongoing thing. Brendan, it's like I were to take you out and we are going to find exactly where Arnold's was and show the
Yeah.
spot where Arthur Fonzarelli. Okay, okay, Kenosha, Wisconsin doesn't have any documented evidence of a Arthur Fonzarelli
Fonzarelli.
ever existing either in the 1960s or in the mid 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
We think we have identified the tiger shark that he jumped. Now, that was filmed in 1977, but tiger sharks have been known in some cases to live 50 years. So if that were a young
Mm-hmm.
tiger shark, it could conceivably
It'll
be
still be
alive to this
around.
day,
Right.
ignoring the fact that this is not a real event. It is a TV show. It is a story. The Blackbeard thing is a story.
Mm-hmm.
The Lost Union Gold is a story, and I maintain that because there's no evidence supporting that this is a valid story that comes anywhere in the historical record, and people have looked. The
Mm-hmm.
first place people claim that the story was published was in 1974, but I can tell you that again, that's not true because Shoemaker had also published it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can point to his Blackbeard story as well. What I find fascinating is that the Finders Keepers group out of
Mm-hmm.
Clearfield, Pennsylvania,
Yep.
they've got a lot of people that believe them. Okay, great. I do guess I respect people that believe in something and then they're going to try to dig to find and confirm this, but
Mm-hmm.
they also believe in the Blackbeard story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same story.
Right.
It's the
And they
same.
don't seem to be connected.
Right.
Like
That's
what
what
are
bothered
the
me.
odds? What are the odds that 4 false bottomed wagons went missing
Right.
in the same
So
area.
in the same period of time,
Time.
so many
Yeah.
people were upset. The
Yeah.
phrase "jump the shark"
Hmm.
comes from that second Happy Days, and it's
Right.
partially because it's so absurd, but it's also because the writers had kind of run out of an idea because they're recycling
Right.
the same idea that they had in season 3. So
It's
it's
not even
just
that
it's
old.
disappointing. So here's the deal. The update. Let me pull this update up real quick.
Do you want me to go into
Why don't you go into the
how we
update?
got to here before we get to the
I
update?
think we all know how we got to
Okay.
here, but I think presenting with the update because I've already said
Hmm.
the FBI did conduct a dig in the
Yeah.
winter of 2018. That is
Hmm.
indisputable.
Right.
There is video footage of them with a backhoe digging. There were armed people there. None of this is in dispute. What's the latest, though? What happened over just the last week?
So over the last week, so back in 2022, they started filing their FOIA requests with the FBI to try and get the documentation around what they found.
And a FOIA request is the Freedom of Information
Yes,
request.
Freedom of Information Act. And the lawyer that they had help them with this is an Ann Wiseman, who is an actual former Justice Department attorney. She specializes in transparency and accountability with the government. Like she's not just like some podunk lawyer.
No.
She's like so. I mean, this is at least like legit in that sense. So like that's where this kind of started was they put in these FOIA requests. They keep getting denied. They keep hearing that there are something like 27,000 documents, and they wouldn't be able to get all of them out to them, kind of thing. All this stuff. So just last month, what they got was a response. Finally, what they got was a release of some records, though these records do not answer any questions on if the gold was taken out or not. And the FBI has agreed to cover the initial litigation costs from the group. And lastly, they cannot submit any more Freedom of Information Act requests about this dig.
So there we go. So one of the things that came out in the documents that was disclosed, one
Hmm.
of the FBI documents, was that there was a note that if anything, essentially boiled down to if they found anything, it would have to be sent to the U.S. Mint in
Well,
Philadelphia.
yeah. Hmm.
So the people, the treasure hunting group, has taken this as evidence that not only was gold removed, which they firmly
Hmm.
believe to start with, because it was in their defense, it was just an absurd showing of numbers, especially when anybody that could do any modicum of research could look and see that this was highly questionable from the get-go.
Hmm.
That does seem to lend, unfortunately, my perspective, that does tend to fuel their beliefs. It does tend to lend some credibility to the story,
Right.
even again, in the face of a complete lack of any
Well,
historical documentation that any of
right.
this could ever be. So,
And I
I
think that
was going
like
somewhere with
no,
this,
no,
but
but yeah, no, and I'm sure we'll find that path again. But along the lines of like things that fuel the fire, like
yeah.
when you look at the actual documents, the actual like CV that the FBI had for this dig, they titled Operation Union Gold, which
Well, yeah, you got to call it
right,
something.
gotta
I
call it
mean,
something. Yeah, no, but I'm no, and I agree with you. But like, I could see how people would see that and go like, oh well, they're obviously clearly looking for Union Gold.
right,
What
right,
else?
right. So
Yeah,
I get your point. And so
yeah,
the bottom line is because they had a thing like, if we find any gold, it
right,
has to be taken to the mint.
right,
Well, yeah, on the incredibly impossibly rare that they found any gold, okay. Because again, the claim was that it was Union Gold,
right.
bogus. But that's the claim. So
Well,
you know
right,
you have to
but
have a
they
contingency. But they are looking to do Freedom of Information Act. They are looking
right.
to bring the Philadelphia Mint into this now.
Well, but they were
That's what the
also
group in Clearfield is
right,
claiming now.
yeah, and that's what they're claiming. That's what it says in the documents, which is probably normal if they're looking for possibly something that's like this. But if you look at, again, if you look at these documents, you will also see that the Gettysburg National History Museum was also on standby to respond to assist if there was further identification needed and related to Civil War era artifacts. There were other logistical places that were again on standby for this because that's probably a normal thing when these types of operations are
Absolutely.
like so saying the mint is on uh standby and that being some sort of an admission of evidence is probably not is not really credible in my view as well.
Right. It shouldn't be misinterpreted as
Yeah.
anything, as
Right.
saying more than it does.
Right.
I agree that you're right. I was talking to a friend just yesterday, and it was when somebody makes a claim, you shouldn't live by slogans, one. That's how
Right.
we kind of got there. But if somebody makes a claim, it's not about believing them, and
Hmm.
it's not about dismissing it out of hand. If somebody makes a claim about something that you're involved in or something that
Hmm.
you care about, you need to take it, you have a duty to take it seriously.
Right.
And that means you may find that no, it's not true, it's not
Hmm.
real, this is a fraudulent claim. You may find otherwise. So I would say that the whole FBI thing was very stupid. It does make
Hmm.
me think a little less of the intelligence efforts of the FBI, the group
Right.
that every American's supposed to be afraid and
Hmm.
mistrustful of.
Right.
And also, it's just, or it could be that they're taking this very silly thing very seriously and that there still is
I,
no gold.
yeah, and I think the idea of evidence in here is important, and I think this is a great place to inspect the idea of a premise and like the idea of jumping to conclusions and confirmation bias. Because what we have here, again, if you just look at like the things that aren't disputed, in 2004, they were doing some surveys. This group was looking for something because they have done digs on other artifact troves
They
and stuff like
have.
that. So it's not like this is the only thing they've ever done. But they were in the area looking for something, and they were doing random sampling. They found a cave and found some anomalies in 2004. In
I
2008,
I have thoughts on that
yeah,
cave I'll come back to.
right. No, which I'm curious about. Yeah, but just so everyone kind of understands like how we got here and why this permission is so important, or why these assumptions are so important. In 2008, they get like a company to come in and do really serious ground penetrating radar, and they definitely find something to the point where the DCNR, because this is on state land,
Yes.
says, "Hey, you're allowed to do some exploratory digs, basically," which isn't unusual. They do that for lots of things. Um, cut to
A lot of
20.
ghost towns in the area. There's
Right,
a lot of,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Like so that's not terribly unusual. And by the time 2014 rolls around, that's when things go south because they want to do the group wants to do more digging and the DCNR is like, no, there's something there, but no, you can't just dig. That's
Right.
not how these things work. And then the dig happens in 2018 with the FBI. I think we can all agree that like, are there anomalous scans in the area? Yes. Was there an
Sure.
FBI was there an FBI dig? Yes.
Undeniable.
Undeniable. Those things that most people can agree on. There is no even corollary evidence between that and this idea of Union Gold being hidden. Like,
Yes.
like there's nothing connecting those things outside of the stories that you have again proved, like I think proven have no merit. So this is how people run away with things whenever they have a confirmation bias. When you expect to see something or find something, and then that you have quote unquote evidence, that evidence is tainted. And this is something we've talked a lot about with like ghost hunting and things like that. It's like, why do you think the anomaly that you're seeing is a spirit? Like what correlation do you have with this? Who's to say what they found wasn't a giant's skeleton in the ground, not Union Gold? It's just as plausible. There's just as much connection.
I actually had a friend talk to me about how giants were real and everything. He talked about Nephilim and what.
Right.
I don't buy that. But to your point that you
Hmm.
just made, there is a cave. There was and there is still
Hmm.
too. And they're talking about how there was clearly a notch for a torch and that they had a circular hole had been drilled through the rock. Okay, that might be true, but how long were these people stationed there? And I'm like, did they have the material to drill through the rock
If they
for
were in a
like what,
hurry,
ventilation
right?
purposes?
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't like. Why is that correlated again to the lost wolf? It was
Right, that could be just
yeah,
a totally naturally occurring thing. I haven't observed the radius of
yeah,
this hole or anything.
right.
Or it could have been something that happened way after the fact. If you are being sabotaged either by copperheads, as some
Hmm.
versions of the story say,
Right, right.
or if you are delirious because Lieutenant Castleton, that never existed, had
Hmm.
typhoid, as some of the variations of the story say,
Right.
are you going to be like, let's, you know what? We're in a bad place. Let's hole up in that cave. And while we're here, let's drill through the rock for add additional ventilation and
It's
so we
so
can
like
hang a torch. It's just so
someone's been watching too much Oak Island. It's just like it's so dumb.
it's jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
The harder one for them, where because that's silly,
Yeah.
like
It
because
it
that's
is. It
even
is
if it's
silly.
like, oh,
Like
this
I love this stuff. I love treasure hunting, but it's
sure.
silly. You're right. You're
Even if you
absolutely
look at
right.
it and you're like, oh, this rock was very there's it's undeniable. This is being manipulated by human
Hmm.
tools.
Right.
No question. That probably almost certainly was not the origin of
Right.
that. But they, in one of their digs, the preliminary digs, they claimed that they had found, well, they did find glassware. They
Yeah.
did find traps. They did find some tool stuff, other metal
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
They claimed that it all dates to the Civil War, and that is being put forward unchallenged in a
Hmm.
lot of the news reporting. I remember at the time, short within a year or two after that, when this really got on my radar,
Right. Right.
there was some historian from it was an
Hmm.
archaeologist and or historian from a couple of the colleges. They had reviewed these artifacts and they said no, these date much later. These may be at the most late 19th century,
People.
early
Yeah.
20th century, and it almost certainly is from people wood hicks,
Right. Yeah.
the
People.
lumber
Yeah. I don't think
workers.
people realize how quickly the natural world reclaims things. There is a nature preserve near my house up here that has a installation of like old farm implements, which is pretty cool. You look at it and go, oh, these have to be from, the 1700s or something. They look so old.
Sure.
And then you find out they're from like the 1920s. Because if you leave something out there in the woods, it goes away pretty quick, you know?
Yeah, obviously glass
Right.
usually doesn't as much.
Yeah.
One of the more wild things, you and I were fishing behind our old high school once.
Oh God, yeah.
And do you
Hmm.
remember I found, so we're fly fishing, we are wading in the water,
Hmm.
and I found a glass bottle. So I'm like, "Oh wow." And it was like
In like
in
the
the mud.
bank. Yeah.
It was perfectly intact.
Hmm.
Perfectly
Which
intact.
is crazy considering how much flooding that gets. Yeah.
Oh, super crazy. Well,
Yeah.
when I pulled it out, I took it home and cleaned it off. It was a beer bottle,
Hmm.
and it was the glass had a mark of Allegheny City. Well, Allegheny
Hmm.
City
I
was
remember
founded
these.
in the late 18th century. It's Pittsburgh's north side.
North
Pittsburgh's
side.
north
Yep.
side was annexed by the city of Pittsburgh in 1907. So
Hmm.
that glass bottle was from 1907
Or
or
before.
earlier. And
Right.
I had dated it at one point because
Hmm.
their bottles changed over the years. And I
Hmm.
still have that bottle, but I will never
That's
forget.
pretty sweet.
It was sweet and it was
Yeah.
wild. To
Yeah.
just find, I think it was from like 1895 to 1907, that
Something like
bottle that
that.
was
Yeah.
like the last of that until after that it would
Well,
say Pittsburgh.
right. And
So those artifacts that they found, yes, they are old. Yes, it is really cool. No, it's not from this trick because one of those things that they found
hmm
was a trap for animals. So again, with this mission, are they bringing animal traps?
right.
Maybe. I'm
Hmm.
not like, why would they? Are you going to say
Right.
because, well, they have to eat something? Well, that's trapping probably wouldn't be the best. It would be a slow journey
Right. If
if you're
that's
having to trap your food along the way.
wow. Yeah, it just doesn't add up. And I think you hit on something too there, Nick, that's important, is that like whenever we find, especially these anything that's antiquarian like this, that's old, whenever we try and add it to like whatever narrative we've already kind of been obsessed with,
Yeah.
it makes us go down this one path instead of recognizing what it actually is. Because when you look at these things, yeah, it's old, it's from something. And maybe what it's from is actually really interesting, but people don't have the chance to ask those questions because they're going off into left field somewhere with some, again, some narrative that they've already decided they're looking for evidence of.
Yes.
It's not scientific in any rational sense. It only has, again, like we talk about, the guise of science. And I think that happens with this kind of rationale.
I guess I agree with you, and I can understand being a true believer and like really not wanting to let go because it is a
Hmm.
good story.
It's a fun story.
It's a
Yeah.
fun story, and if you heard it like the whole time you were growing up and everything, I can sympathize
Oh,
with that.
yeah.
But what I'm especially disappointed in the FBI, which again, maybe I've made it clear, it's not necessarily an agency I have a lot of love for to begin with. Um, but let me put that aside.
Hmm.
The fact of the matter is that was a very real operation. It was a
Right.
very large show of force. And this isn't about me being irritated that it only fuels these people's
Right. This kind
belief
of
that there's definitely
subterfuge.
something
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
But it was tax dollars. It was
Yeah.
people who had to stand out in the cold in central nowhere, Pennsylvania. No offense. I love it. This is
Yeah.
my
Same. Yeah.
region,
We love it,
but
but yeah.
this is extremely sparsely populated
Right.
region of the Atlantic states.
Yeah.
They had to do all that, spend tax dollar money when it could be very quickly have been dismissed by looking, well, what is the evidence that this
Hmm.
group is putting forward?
Right.
Has anybody checked that evidence? Well, yes, some people have. If we want to talk about suppressed information in the media
Hmm.
right now, it's not about it's not about the FBI hiding the gold, although they
Right.
are like suppressing some of that information.
Hmm.
It's about the fact that the claims that this group is making are just without historical
Merit.
merit.
Hmm.
And that has been said in the past, but you don't hear that.
Right. No, I
It's
completely
just
agree.
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I agree, and it's tough because, like, again, you can understand, like you said, people who grow up in the area with these stories. If like, I mean, if there was a even uncredible story of buried treasure around here, even if we didn't believe the story, me and you would go look for it on occasion. We'd take a hike and
Sure.
go poke around, like, so I can understand people getting into that, and like
We
with.
were just in the woods together the other week about a
Mhm.
haunted cemetery. And,
Yeah.
again, it's spooky. I don't believe in haunted cemeteries.
Hmm. Yeah, so like I can understand people going out and being into this stuff and like wanting it to be real. But then, like you said, when the FBI in this case, or any agency like that, adds subterfuge to the equation, it doesn't help anything.
No.
Like, and again, so you can understand why you have, like, a business owner in the area that was that was up there at the time, going on the record with reporters saying, like, who the brings three Brinks trucks into the middle of this fucking valley in the middle of winter for nothing? And
That's a
like,
direct quote, by the way.
that's a direct quote. Yeah, I'll add the bleeps in there. It'll be fun. That's an actual, like, you can understand why a reasonable person would be like, yeah, why are they bringing three Brinks trucks down a dirt road for nothing? If that's the
Yeah.
case, and that's what earlier before
I,
we.
I can totally understand why he would feel justified in his
Right.
belief. And again, I guess that's what I've been saying this whole
Hmm.
time, but
Yeah.
that's why I say it makes me think even less of the FBI because
Right.
this just, this is the classic I have a unicorn in my pocket thing.
Right. Exactly. It's just, yeah, I don't. The whole thing is, I get why people like it, and there is a number of weird things going on with this, and we all know that, like, the trickster and the paranormal loves these kind of stories. There's a lot out there for people to latch on to, just like Oak Island, just like the Templars, just like any of these buried treasure stories.
Yeah.
But even if you look at all the weird stuff, there's no correlation between that weird stuff and the initial story. And that's what I want people to, like, think about, is how much our preconceived notions and the narratives we tell ourselves go into how we interpret the world around us. Because again, this story keeps having legs because
It's
people.
perennial.
It is. It's a gift that keeps on giving, Clark. It's it really is. Um, because like again, you can understand why people are into this stuff because it's fun.
For sure, it's
But
a mystery.
it is, but I don't think people realize that like adding that narrative to things colors their interpretation of reality as a result. Because you say over and over again, there's gold in them there, Hales, and suddenly you're like, no, there's definitely gold there.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Well,
I just don't think it's not a healthy rationale for
in the
people to have.
memory book that we read,
Hmm.
The Invisible Gorilla,
Yes.
it talked about you will tell a story so many times, and you, even if it's made up, you will start believing or that it's true, or you will
Right.
tell a friend story so many times, and eventually
Hmm.
you'll start believing that it was you and not your friend that happened
Right.
to.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
why
And
wouldn't this be the way?
why wouldn't it be, yeah, any different? And again, I know we quote that book, The Invisible Gorilla, a lot. Please go out there and read that because you hear
I
us
only
say,
read it recently.
yeah, I
I read it for us to have that conversation
mhm.
about the book, and I'm going to tell you, it was a great read.
It really is. And I think like the reason we reference it so often is because I think it's a humbling book because people hear us say those things and they think, oh, well, not me. And
Right.
it's like, no, statistically speaking, yes, you. Like that this is how our brains work. And your hubris thinking that you were above that is kind of what drives some of these issues that we're seeing.
100%. It's called a blind spot because you can't see it.
Right. Yeah,
If it
exactly.
weren't, if you could see
Yeah.
it, it wouldn't be a blind spot.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I want to say too, our I reached out to our friend Brian
Hmm.
because we were both thinking about him,
Hmm.
and he wrote of this a very brief comment about it. I guess the government technically owns the gold, but why the cover up? It's not like they found the Kecksburg UFO beings, or was it a time traveler from a Nazi time machine research? But I digress. Anyways, I'm happy that the story continues and that we can still keep talking about it, which is a very wholesome take.
I I love
And
Brian so much. What a great way of summing that up. Yeah. Well
yeah,
said. Well
it
said.
goes back to like that geography of bliss quote that I read to you. The
Hmm. Right.
when questions about do you believe in this, that, or the other thing, a man takes a moment and he says, like believe in trolls or whatnot. He says,
Yeah.
I do not, but people around me do, and my life is made richer for it.
For them. Yeah.
And our lives are like again is
It adds some
folk.
mystery. Yeah, it adds some
Yeah,
mystery. It
a
adds
lot
some
of
extra
folklore is
excitement.
not
Yeah.
literally true. A
Right.
lot of it is written and designed to be cautionary tales
Yes. Hmm.
told through invented story, or it's just told to be enjoyed.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that has utility. That
And
that's
no,
valuable.
it does because I can imagine like someone walking through the trails up at Dent's Run with like their kids or whatever, and the kids are a little maybe not as engaged as the parents would like them to be, so they start telling them about the Union Gold that's up there in the hills, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all.